To think about all those different communities, were there some threads that you felt bound?
Method of healing or helping people to heal them.
Interested to know how you deal with it as chief exec. So hello and welcome back to Leading the Field, the podcast. I'd love to introduce to you Linda Edwards, the chief exec of Education for Health. Tell us a little bit more about that work or that time that you spent with those Indigenous communities.
Well, I've always been very drawn to being out in being connected to the world around us, and by that I mean the natural world. And I was quite fortunate in some of my exploration around behavioural psychology to be introduced to some amazing Indigenous leaders. One kahuna, Uncle George, for instance, in Hawaii, was this tiny little bird-like man, but he had such a presence about him that people always listened, and the group of people that he lived with all seemed to live more harmoniously than we did in the world, without as much as we've got. And so Uncle George was the start of my journey, I think, really, into, well, if it works for the kahunas and the Indigenous Hawaiian people, what other cultures around the world do what? And how could I bring all of that together to learn so that I could share the key tenets of that with other people? I spent time with the Tuareg going across the Sahara. I spent time in the Amazon jungle with 2 or 3 different tribes. I spent a lot of time with Native American elders during my time in the States, and had one of their national leaders, Howard Bad Hands, became my teacher for a period of time. So He introduced me to the value of sweat lodges, and I even tried ayahuasca in the Amazon jungle. So, it opened me up to all sorts of things.
If you were to think about all those different communities, were there some threads that you felt bound them in terms of Western perspective, if you like? What was it that you observed that felt very different and good about how they lived?
Well, all of the leaders in every single culture that I spent time with kind of held the energy for the group or for their community. So they were a source of wisdom, but their wisdom was a bit like coaching, actually. It was not them giving the answer to the people, but helping the people to find the answer within themselves. Right. And the other key thing was all around healing, because every single one of these medicine people or leaders actually had their own method of healing or helping people to heal themselves. 99% of it was psychological, and therefore their coaching and support helped people find whatever it was inside of themselves to heal the mental emotional thing that was bothering them. But the biggest thing they taught me, and I think it's huge for anybody who's working with other people, is to get yourself out of the way. It's not about them. It's about the person that they're working with, and they put all of their energy and basically putting every preconception and every judgment to one side and just working with the individual to get the best result.
I'm interested to know how you deal with it as chief exec. So one of the big impacts of the pandemic was the introduction of hybrid working. Has that affected you as chief exec? And what's the impact you're noticing on the people in the organization and their ability to still thrive in what is a very different environment for them?
It's been an interesting journey, aren't they, always, when you make a significant change like this. I mean, the way that when we decided it was time to get back together, there are huge advantages of working in this virtual environment. So the collaboration, people would try to do it, but actually sitting down, having a cup of coffee and chewing over an issue in a room is much more productive. And so the way that we started to do that was by having a collaboration day, 1 day a week, where everybody from across the organisation came in it for a core period. We opted for 9:30 to 3:30. So everybody would be together, and it was an opportunity for everybody to mix. That has actually worked very well. A number of people were a bit afraid of coming back into the office. And therefore we worked quite carefully together to get to the point where Wednesdays are now seen in the main as a really great day to get together with people that you need to kind of problem solve or run a project or whatever it is we need to do.
Yeah.
Now at a place, I think, where all of the evidence and research that's been done shows that actually having people in an office environment 2 to 3 days a week is good for their mental health and their physical well-being. So we'll be looking at how we move more in that direction. To be fair, there's a couple of teams that are in a couple of days a week anyway. I think it's to add another day would probably the next step, but I don't think we'll be going any further than that, because quieter time I'm at home enables people to get their head down and get things done. But equally, down talking to people, working through projects, looking at, mapping out something together also has its benefits.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll let people stretch their legs, go and get grounded outside and come back and listen to the show. So thanks, Linda. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm here with the wonderful Linda Edwards, Chief Exec of Education for Health. A fascinating conversation before the break, as you know, all about Linda's career, which has been, well, amazing to spend all that time with all of those Indigenous populations around the world, but seeing the commonality. And I think that's, at the end of the day, it's all one big human spirit, and it's how we navigate that process and travel the road and all the rest of it. So thank you for sharing some of that. So I love the way you've thought that through, because quite often with technology and with these types of innovations, they go sort of like big bang straight away, and it can just feel overwhelming and people don't actually make the progress that they're making. So I love the approach.
Well, there's lots of really, really complex to profile a practice. But, I know general practice, everybody's so busy, unless you've got somebody who's extra passionate about numbers and looking at, they're not going to work and people will be overwhelmed. So that's why we made the decision to keep it simple. And nice. Alongside that, if we do it across a primary care network area or a wider ICS, we can start to identify best practice across that area and share that best practice across practices so everybody can benefit from other people, which is something that I think has got quite a lot of legs. So we're quite excited about that. And the other, probably for me personally, quite important thing is sadly our co-chairman passed away 2 years ago, Ursula Gallagher, and she was really passionate about developing people and education. And then we've set up a bursary fund that we use, a bursary pot for Ursula, based around postgraduate education, which is something that she was really passionate about. So in the autumn, we will be releasing opportunities for people to apply for a bursary for a postgraduate certificate, which is something that would have been very dear to Ursula's heart. So that gives me huge pleasure to be able to do that.
So how can people find out more or get in touch?
I think it'll be going live on the website next month. So the process will be clear and on the website from next month. So I just encourage people to have a look and search for bursaries on the Education for Health website.
Excellent. Okay, and we'll make sure we put the link for the website in the notes as well. So if you're listening to this, check out the notes and click through from there. That sounds amazing. I bet you're really excited about that. So Linda, as you know, nobody gets out of this show alive without telling us what's the track that inspires them that we can add to the Leading the Field playlist. So what's it for you?
Some Side So Strong by Labi Sifri, and play it full blast when you're driving along.
Yeah, it's just a stunning song, isn't it? I had the pleasure to see him perform that live. It was only a very small venue up near Manchester around about the time that it came out. And yeah, it was almost enhanced by the fact that it was a relatively small venue, because his voice reverberated around that and all the heckles on your neck was coming out. It's so intimate, isn't it? Yeah.
It kind of hits me in the chest. It's brilliant.
Linda, thank you so much for taking some time out. I know, you've got so much going on right now. And so it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and hear some of the great plans you've got as well. So thank you for that. Take good care, and we will hopefully catch up again soon.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So that was it. Leading the Field with Simon Phillips and my special guest, Linda Edwards from Education for Health, of course. Okay, have a great week and we'll see you back here next time.